Welcome to another episode of Sports Chat Podcast. We have a very special guest, Don Landis, the director at TSN. Thank you, Don, for doing this and for speaking with me.
My pleasure.
Cool. Don, tell us about your journey into the sport industry.
Well, when I was in high school, I just always wanted to be in sports. I don't know why. I just thought, sports television would be really cool. And I loved the Toronto Blue Jays at that time. So it was my job was like, I need to my vision was I wanted to work for the Toronto Blue Jays. Of course, your first job into TV is never what you think. Mine was being a videotape librarian at Global. And then I would start volunteering for the Mother's Day telethon and things like that. And then Jumbotron had started at the Sky Dome, and one of the directors there knew me from Global and asked me if I wanted to start working at Jumbotron, just shot listing and stuff. And then I thought, hey, Jumbotron is like the Blue Jays, right? So, you get there and then you started working with Jumbotron and shot listing. And then I started to do some PA work, and then I started doing some floor directing. And, eventually that meant I was working for the Toronto Blue Jays in a weird sort of way. And I did that freelance for a while. And eventually I got a job with TSN as a videotape librarian again. But in a weird way, that was kind of a blessing because I ended up getting to know a lot of the producers that worked in live sports, because they needed to come to the library to get tapes for different things, to cut teases. And I got to know a lot of people at TSN that way. And then I started, training down at Sports Desk at the time to be a PA, and started working there. I was there for about 2 years as a freelancer. And then The Score started. And at the time it was Headline Sports, and they were looking for PAs. And I decided to take the jump from TSN newsroom at 2 a.m., which was awful, and go to The Score, to this brand new place. And I was there for 11 years. And I got so many opportunities there, which was amazing. My boss, Anthony Ciccione, was really instrumental in pushing me into directing live sports. And once I, started that, I would do, volleyball, basketball, football, so many different things, lacrosse. But after 11 years, The Score kind of wasn't going in that direction of live sports anymore. And there was a position that opened at TSN. So in 2008, I went back to TSN and have been there ever since. And at TSN, it's sort of been the same thing. I did half studio work and then half live event. And in the last 6 years, I have been only live event on the road. And that's my journey.
Awesome. I want to ask you, Don, about The Score, because it seemed like you were there from the very beginning. And one of the things when I started researching about The Score was so many great broadcasters came out of it. Elliot Friedman and Sid Cicero and
Tim McAuliffe.
Yeah, Tim McAuliffe.
James Cebulski.
So many names.
Guyard. Yeah.
So many names.
Cabral Richards. Like I'm missing others. Like there's so many that started there. 100%.
What was the experience like, Don, at The Score?
Oh, it was great. I mean, the first couple of years was just so hard because we just worked all the time, and we were trying to be new and fresh, and starting this television station, but everyone kind of had the same goal, and you wanted the same thing. So it was anyone that you talk to about The Score, it was always about the people. The people that worked at The Score were, phenomenal, right? Like everyone was young, pretty much. And everyone got along. And, the owners, the Levys, that just, fabulous people that really wanted the best for us, and they treated us really well, sort of let us do our thing. So, whenever something came up or there was a big event happened, like everyone just kicked in. People would come in, they'd be looking for footage. They would, trying to do anything they could to make our product better and better.
And currently, Don, you're the director at TSN and currently in Winnipeg in a hotel room. So I appreciate you speaking with me.
Sure.
What are your roles and responsibilities at TSN?
Right now, I am, as you said, I'm in Winnipeg. So I'm doing all of the Winnipeg Jets home and away games, but they're all happening here in Winnipeg. And that's obviously because of COVID. We are no longer allowed to go into, let's say, if the Jets are playing the Flames, we are not allowed to take our TV truck into Calgary. There's only one truck there, and then they send us their feed, and we can add our own looks, and we have a camera there that we can cut in and do our own stories for Winnipeg. And because Dennis Bayak, Kevin Sawyer, and Sarah Oleski, by the way, also was at the Score. She was our Vancouver correspondent. Anyways, the three of them live here. So the fact that, they can just come to Bell and TS Center, and then just a few of us that fly in from Toronto to do all of our away games here. But besides hockey, I also do CFL football. Fingers crossed, we have CFL football this summer. And that just sort of depends what the schedule is, where I go. But most times you sort of get to each of the cities every season and get to do that. I also used to do all the figure skating that TSN had. But of course, the last two events have been canceled due to COVID. And our contract, I believe, is up now with Skate Canada. So I think that might be the end. I'm not sure. Hopefully not, but you never know. And sometimes I do some curling events. And I've also been fortunate enough to do some CTV things like red carpet Oscar shows, royal wedding I did way back when. And so I've had a really good opportunity once I've come back with TSN.
Was it weird, Don, to go from kind of the sport to the royal wedding or the Oscars, the red carpet?
Not really. I mean, the whole idea is all those things are pretty fast paced, which is why they sort of wanted a sports director to come in to do them. So, the main difference is, right, is they're wearing much nicer clothing than, stinky hockey jerseys and stuff like that. But no, it wasn't too much of a change. It's just, a little slower paced, but still very fun. Yeah.
That's cool. I was very curious because it seems like, although it's entertainment, different industries, right?
Yes. Yes. Definitely a little bit different, but, they still follow the same rules. And some of the folks, at CTV don't always do live, like their entertainment isn't always live, right? Like they'll package different sections here and there. So I was quite honored when they asked if I would like to go and do some of their live shows. Yeah, especially the Oscar at the red carpet. That's been a pretty fun one.
Cool. Don, I want to ask you about the first ever all-female broadcast, which was on March 24th for basketball. But I know, as we spoke before, I know you did the all-female hockey broadcast a year ago.
Yes.
So with both of those experiences, how did they kind of come about?
The all-female hockey event, that was May 8th, which that until I had got back to doing the Jets this year, the May 8th, 2020 was the last hockey game I did before we were shut down. So that kind of was neat, right? That certainly holds a nice special place in my heart. And it was an odd coming together because the game aired on Sportsnet. I obviously work for TSN, and it was just the folks, my boss, the head folks over at, and I think it was Ed Hall, perhaps, also, by the way, an old Score alum. And they were just talking about how they wanted to put together this team of women. And because I'm the only female that directs live sports in Canada, they said, well, why don't we reach out to TSN and ask for Dawn? So it was a really cool, amazing, it's so funny. I still get a little bit emotional when I talk about it because I work with women not that often when I do games. They're here in Winnipeg. There's a female camera operator, which is awesome. And one of our font operators is female. But when, you travel around and stuff, there's usually a couple females. Sometimes there's none at all. And, to me, it doesn't matter, female or male. Everyone does their job exceptionally well. But when they made the choice to travel all of the females and be in one place for one event, was really amazing. to have all these women that, do their jobs on a daily basis together in one spot, and to be able to lead them as a director was something I will never forget. And I'm so thankful to Sportsnet and TSN that they allowed the coming together of the two networks to make that happen.
I can't remember the hockey broadcast on a year ago because it just seems like the last year for everybody has been so crazy in a way.
Yeah.
But the basketball broadcast, I really enjoyed it, and for me, it was refreshing. It was kind of refreshing to hear. I'm not sure how other people felt about it, but I thought it was a very refreshing perspective. And although I love the current broadcasters like Jack Armstrong, and it was one of my favorites, but it was good to hear.
Yeah. And it's nice to know that even though it's not in the norm, it's something that doesn't have to be out of the norm. That nowadays, I think when you hear it and they put the emphasis on it, that, it can be done like that. And sometimes it just needs it just needs someone to say, hey, let's, give it a shot. And, it's nice that someone like you, Vince, is like, you know what? It didn't seem out of the ordinary. It was refreshing. It was sort of nice to hear another voice, another opinion, another way of looking at the game than, the same.
Right.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that you enjoyed it. I unfortunately didn't get a chance. I think we were doing a Jets game the same night, so I didn't get to watch it live, but I did get a chance to see a lot of versions of it, and certainly sent notes to some of my female colleagues about that.
Yeah, it's so cool. Well, do you think, Don, that it'll happen again?
I would say yes, it'll happen again. And in which sport and for what? I don't know for sure. I do know that, well, in May, I'm going to Halifax for the Women's World Hockey Championships. And we've used Cheryl Pounder. She's our analyst. So she'll be coming with us again. And on site, Tessa Benham, an ex Olympian as well. So, and obviously a TSN host. She'll be there on site with us as well. So it'll be nice to have a chance, even though it's not all female, it's still, females on the ice, and there are female commentators who have played the game at a very high level, commentating on the sport. So hopefully, when it comes to male sports, that, yeah, we get a chance to have women calling and broadcasting the games again.
Mm-hmm. Cheryl Pounder was one of our guests. I think she was episode 19, if I remember correctly. She was awesome.
Oh, fantastic. I will have to ask her about that when I see her.
Yeah, she was great. She's a great broadcaster. And a quick story, Don. When I was in elementary school, there was a poster of her right beside the gym. And so I'd walk by it all the time. All these years later, for myself graduating from university, still remember that kind of poster of her with, the gold medal, around her neck. And, all these years later, I got to speak with her. I'm like, wow, it's funny how life works.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's a really cool story. She is an amazing speaker. She does that. Well, probably not so much this year, but she is certainly someone that if you have the chance to hear her speak live, she's fabulous.
I couldn't agree more.
Yes.
Don, before I move on to the next question, I want to ask you about the process of kind of the behind the scenes work of a live broadcast.
So, I mean, right now, during COVID, it hasn't changed a whole lot. Just, us being able to be close to players and interviewing in a different way now. But we normally go to the truck 6 hours before the game starts. And in that time, especially if it's a home game, have a chance to, most times now I'll meet with the camera operators over headset, tell them of any storylines, that we're covering. Like if someone's, going to hit their 100th assist. We've been trying to get poor Morrissey's 100th NHL assist for the past couple of weeks, and the guy just can't get an assist. Anyways, so we'll get that at some point. But it just, we meet with the camera folks over headset, and we do, the faxing out, making sure all the cameras are working. And that happens with our technical folks, of course, inside the truck. And then we talk to the away team. So for instance, Ottawa was in town for that rescheduled game on Monday, I think it was. And we, so I've talked to the director and producer there and see what they want and what we can give them on the clean feed, go through that sort of stuff. We have a meal break, and then we come back, and by that point we're now waiting for interviews. So before, our interviews used to be on the back, a handheld camera with Sarah Oleski answering the questions. now Sarah has a beautiful set up top, of course, at MTS and Bell MTS, and we have to use hard cameras and shoot the players now with headset on, which gets cleaned after each interview that they do. And once the interviews are done, we send those to the away feed. In that case, it was Ottawa. And then we just do a bunch of packaging. We look at boards, we put fonts on packs, we package up some billboards, promos, do all that sort of stuff. And then we wait for the players to come out half hour before for warm-up shots. Sometimes we'll do hits with TH, like for That's Hockey or Sports Center. Sarah, a lot of times will do those hits or and send down player shots and then rehearse our opening. And then we come up live at 7 or 6 or whatever time zones we're working on that night. And then we do the game. And the Jets broadcast, we do everything here from Winnipeg. We do our opening, our whole selves. We do the game. Then we hit intermission. We do another interview. Then we do analysis. Sometimes Ray Ferraro, sometimes Craig Button, depending. And they can be from their homes in Vancouver, Calgary, which is, I guess, a bonus of COVID. We get to have, analysts of their caliber coming in from their homes. And then once the game's done, we do one more interview and that's a wrap.
Wow. One of the things, Don, I miss about the Winnipeg Jets is the fans. The fans are fantastic in Winnipeg. And
what I miss is I miss when they sing the anthem here.
Yes.
I would, you as a director, right? You're always on that one fan that's going to yell out "True North" during the anthem. I mean, yes, they kind of put fan sounds up, but man, do we miss the fans here in Winnipeg?
One day they'll come back. One day, hopefully soon, rather than later.
Yeah, I will tell you this from walking around Winnipeg every morning when I go out for a walk, the amount of jerseys and hats and stuff that you see, it's still, believe me, the fans are still here. They just can't be in the arena.
You're right.
Yeah.
Don, so as a leader in television, I want to ask you about your thoughts about kind of the media landscape right now and the effects with COVID. How has it changed? Where do you think the future is?
Well, I mean, the biggest change is when I had mentioned that the away feeds now there's no, trucks aren't side by side in a rink now. We just have one truck. And that means, the away feed has to, do things a little differently. They don't have all the cameras at their ready and to be able to use it and tell their own stories. So, that worries me that hopefully now that they've figured out a way to do it like this, and, if they can save money, that maybe they'll say, oh, well, it worked well, during the 2021 season. Let's just keep it like that. But for us as people that want to tell stories and want to have, our cameras and do things the way we'd like to do them, we certainly want to go back into those rinks and travel and be back at all of the cities that we used to be in. Because that really, I mean, for us is the biggest change where each broadcaster can't be on their own, because TSN and Sportsnet still, obviously it's the same idea, but we all do things a little bit differently. And it's, in a weird way, it's been kind of nice because I've been able to talk to, some friends that are now at Sportsnet or people that I've known from before. And you get to talk to them on a gamely basis, basically just saying, hey, what do you want here? Can we give you this? This is how we're going to break. And you work together on it. I just really hope that next year we don't have to, and, we can do things the way we used to. So that's really the biggest change. And, even just, all the events people have done this year with curling and that curling bubble. And, it's not good for people's mental health at all. Like even for myself, spending this much time in Winnipeg, and as lovely as Winnipeg is, it's not my house. My husband's not here. It's, it's a little bit different. So, hopefully for, everyone involved, and I'm sure even for the sports teams, that things will go back to normal. But the one thing I wonder though, that might stay the same is now teams will come in and we'll do, the Calgary Flames will be here for 3 games, and I wonder if the teams like that, because now they sort of come in, they get into their own schedule. They're not traveling every day. Sometimes they would do those, home and home games where they come to Calgary And then the next day or 2 days later, they'd be in Winnipeg. So the teams themselves, I think, would get fatigued going back and forth. So this might be one little added bonus from playing like this, that maybe the teams will think, hey, when we go to Winnipeg, why don't we play for 2 games or 3 games, cross Winnipeg off our thing, and then, next week we go to Calgary, next week we go to Vancouver, next week we go to Nashville, which I would really like to go back to Nashville. That was part of the Jets. Stop.
Right.
So let's get back to Nashville. So yeah, the sports media landscape, it's still going along. It's just, I don't like kind of how we've had to do things, but at least we're able to do them, I think, is the best way to say it. And they've found a great way to make it work. I don't know if I answered your question there, but I kind of went off on a tangent.
No, you did, Doug, for sure. Not just sport or sport media, every industry, a lot of people have been relieved their duties because of COVID. It's happening across multiple industries right now.
Absolutely. And when you talk about people, not having jobs, with us not being able to go into Vancouver with our own TV truck, our own people, that's like a whole other crew that isn't working right now. So, and I think in some venues, they try to rotate people through so everyone kind of gets a little bit of work. But at, other times, some other people have taken completely different jobs and are no longer working in the business because for an entire year, they haven't been able to. So, I mean, you can, there's most people, they're talking about, how restaurants and, just everyone across the board, right? Small businesses, whatever. But I mean, it's affecting camera operators and audio operators and all these people that, MLS isn't playing in Canada right now. So all of those dates that, the Whitecaps would have been playing and TFC would have been playing and would have, all of the crews would have been working another couple of, all those homestands. They don't have work right now. So that breaks my heart for many people that I work with. And I hope it gets back to normal because there's so many talented people right now that don't have a job.
Right. 100%. Don, to kind of end our conversation, it's not necessarily a sport industry or sport topic, but Hugh, who's our creative director and who put this together.
One of my past students.
Right. And he's so talented and great at everything that he does. You recently won the lottery in Pickering, and I've never met anybody that has won the lottery. So I wanted to ask you kind of, how was that experience?
Oh my gosh. So yeah, the lottery win was, a 2020 miracle, quite frankly. And it started because I wanted to eat healthy. My husband and I were going to try to get in shape. So I went to Loblaws to buy some salmon. And then because I knew it was the 70 million, I thought, well, maybe I should buy a ticket. There's no one in line. And I swear to God, it was like the 5th time ever in my life I was buying a lottery ticket. So my husband, if he does it, Matt will go in. He'll be like, hey, $20. And then what does he say? No encore, I guess. I don't even know. So I was just like $20, whatever it gets me. Came out, folded it up, put it in my wallet, didn't think about it. And I think it was like a week or so later, we were out for lunch with friends of ours. And someone had said, oh, hey, the lottery happened, here, I'm going to scan my thing on the app. And I went, I bought a ticket. And Matt was like, what do you mean you bought a ticket? You never buy tickets. I'm like, I know. I'm like, hey, I said, I know we didn't win the 70 million, but it's nice we have friends here to see us win $1 million. Jokingly, handed it to my husband. He scanned it, put his phone up, and it said, "What big winner, $1 million." I'm like, how did you fake it that fast? He's like, I didn't fake it. He pulled it back out. He scanned it again. Then his best friend, Jesse, scanned it, still said it. Tears, jumped up. Yep. Bought lunch for everyone in that area. It was pretty exciting. Still a little bit unreal, but yes. Yes, very incredibly fortunate. Definitely. And then we bought a cottage and got to spend a lot of time at it last year because so many sports were canceled. So in a weird way, it worked out pretty good for us. Very fortunate indeed.
I believe, Don, that everything happens for a reason. So if you won the lottery, it's because there's a reason to it.
Yeah.
We don't know what that reason is, but maybe in the future you will know, right?
Yes, I like your thinking, Vince.
Don, can't thank you enough for speaking with me and doing this podcast episode. It was great speaking with you. It really was. It was just
Thank you.
I found the conversation very interesting, and I learned a lot. So thank you very much.
Amazing. My absolute pleasure. Pleasure, if I could say that. My absolute pleasure.
Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Go to our new website, www.sportchat.biz. One more time, www.sportchat.biz, with articles, and our podcast episodes are there, and it's all good stuff. So take a look at that, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.